Back home when you said only the Brits care about Anthony Joshua, do you stand by that statement?
Yeah, absolutely. In America, nobody cares about it. Anybody, any fighter who gets beat by Andy Ruiz, gets knocked out by Andy Ruiz, is not an elite fighter. I mean, let's be honest about it. I had Andy Ruiz for 36 fights, and he didn't knock out a majority of the guys that we put him with, many of whom were not really top flight. Most of them were not top flight heavyweights. And Anthony Joshua gets knocked out by Andy Ruiz. What does that say about him?
Well, I'm not going to answer that.
I mean, could you believe if Andy Ruiz fought Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, would you give Andy Ruiz any chance against those two guys?
Not at all, none.
No, and he knocked out Anthony Joshua, who then fought him in a rematch and ran like a pussy.
What does Anthony Joshua need to do to become elite then? Does he need to face somebody like Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder?
I'm telling you, and listen to what I'm telling you. Anthony Joshua's next fight is with Kubrat Pulev, who will knock Anthony Joshua out.
Bob, I want to read you some quotes from Eddie Hearn that he made on Talk Sport over the last sort of 24 hours. I thought Fury might win the fight, but I've heard a few things in camp and stuff like that. Listen, it might be rubbish, but now I do think Wilder's going to win the fight by stoppage.
Well, I don't know what he's hearing. You know, I'm here. I know everything. My guys are in every minute that I'm not in. So what the hell is he talking about? Eddie Hearn runs from the mouth. I mean, I'm sure he heard that from somebody. You know, you hear everything in boxing. But again, you have to be a little cautious about what you talk about, what you say. Who is this guy? The guy who sweeps my gym is his source? You know, I mean, Eddie really has to learn how to grow up.
Synergies in that respect as well.
Is this man annoying people, aggravating people in the US, Bob?
No, his problem is, Eddie's problem, with all due respect, is he came on the American scene when Donald Trump was president, and as a foreigner, he emulates the guy who's president of the country.
Oh, leave it out.
If Obama had been president when he came over,
I would have made all the difference. I knew I missed it. Yeah. I can't believe you've referenced me to Trump there, Dov. Well, Bob's actually. You're going to run for president, aren't you? What? You're going to run for president.
Who?
You.
No.
You're big in politics.
I'm for Joe Biden.
Just finally, Bob, I do want to ask you about Dana White's recent comments towards you, which seemed very strong. I'm sure you would have seen them. So, yeah, what was your take on Dana's comments towards you, Bob?
Understand, Dana White, I look at as a cowboy, a supporter of Donald Trump, a guy who will do things which I don't believe are safe and sound. That's all I got to say about Dana White, Dana Trump, right? Same thing. I'm from a different political background, and I do go about things differently from the way Dana does. You know, whatever works for Dana, God love him, let him do. He is not in the same business that I'm in. I'm in the boxing business where we have other promoters who are very prominent. We are not a monopoly. He's in a business where he's doing this mixed martial art, a sport that he and people around him invented, and they are monopolists, and they are not in the same business that we are. We pay a much greater percentage of our revenue to the fighters because of the monopoly that UFC is. The fighters get a small percentage of the UFC revenue, a smaller percentage than athletes, not only in boxing, but in any other sport get. Look at the percentage what your football players get, your football players, soccer players get to the revenue that each club makes. Look at the percentage that NBA players, basketball players get to the revenue. The baseball players. That percentage is light years ahead of what those who participate in UFC get. Why? Because it's a monopoly and there's no fighters union in the UFC to generate fair revenue sharing. That's all I got to say. I'm not going to get involved any further.
As well.
This is for the lineal championship. We know that he's a lineal champion. This still gets played down by certain people in boxing. They don't see him as the lineal champion.
Who cares what they think, as long as they, he did more subscriptions for ESPN Plus when he fought Schwarz, more subscriptions than all of the fights that Eddie Hearns put on, total. People quoted me as saying, of all of them. You put them all together, and Tyson Fury in one fight did more subscribers.
Well, yeah, Eddie has said in the past he's one of the most unentertaining fighters he's ever seen, Tyson Fury.
Eddie Hearn is not a really good promoter, because if you're a good promoter, you don't talk about the other guy's fights and the other guy's fighters, because it just gives them publicity. You don't do that. I don't talk bad about any Eddie Hearns' cards. I don't even mention it. I don't want to give him publicity. I don't talk about his fighters. Why? I don't want to give him publicity. I mean, why? I mean, that's stupid. Eddie Hearns is like an amateur that has come in to the United States and has become the laughing stock of the United States. Talk to other promoters. Talk to Mayweather. Talk to Leonard Ellaby about Eddie Hearn. He's a joke. All he can do is write checks and give away money. Mandatory, because he's the champion of another organization. So this happens in boxing. You don't automatically get shots. The mandatory system is not designed for that anymore.
But Canelo was not stripped of that title because he had a mandatory fight in the WBC.
They will have a regular champion.
Do you agree if you're a mandatory champion and you get beat, you should just remain franchise?
Right, or fight for another organization, for Christ's sake. There's 3 organizations. There's plenty of opportunity. Don't bother Canelo. I mean, he's not my fighter, but he's a face of boxing, face of particularly with Mexican Americans and Mexicans. He's the only friggin' guy that the zone has that can move the needle even this much as far as subscription. Let him fight who he chooses to fight. And if you don't want to watch him, don't cover his fights and don't go to his fight. That's my position. Now, I don't think they should make franchise willy-nilly, but Canelo deserves the franchise tag.
What about Lomachenko?
Lomachenko doesn't deserve it yet. He doesn't deserve it yet. He has 2 belts. Hopefully, if the BBC doesn't interfere, he'll have 3 belts, and then he'll fight Comey or Teofimo Lopez and have 4 belts. And then hopefully Mauricio will make him a franchise champion.
Bob, are you saying Canelo deserves it because of his popularity?
And also because of his body of work, and because he's the only friggin' fighter in that division who can move the needle.
Eddie, your thoughts on the franchise champion?
No. Look, I'm not Canelo's promoter. I wish I was, but I'm not. I'm just saying where I'm coming from.
Would Wilder deserve it?
What?
Does Deontay Wilder deserve it?
If he beats Tyson Fury twice, yeah. That'd be pretty good. I mean, better than a guy who tested positive for steroids and becoming the mandatory. I mean, give me a break.
Your reaction, Eddie?
What's that?
Your reaction?
Oh, I'm looking forward to August the 31st in London. All the British Boxing Board of Control referees got to do is
let me tell you, I'm helping Eddie. He doesn't realize, he thinks I'm denigrating him. I'm helping him because every person who follows boxing in the United Kingdom is going to either be at the O2 Arena on August 31st to see what shenanigans the British Board of Boxing Control or will buy it on pay-per-view. You should thank me.
Thank you, Bob. I think that I don't agree with everything the British Boxing Board of Control do, but I will say, Bob, some of the things they employ, particularly on a medical side, is so many levels above what the commissions do here.
That's right. Sure, because they're doing things levels above the commissions here, and when a guy tests positive, even preliminary, they don't tell the opponent. That's not a medical issue, right?
Boxing Board of Control.
They never talk. What?
That's UKED, but anyway, it's another.
Well, okay. You're all the same, all you Brits.
Eddie, how come a lot of promoters are not working together, but you guys seem to be working?
Not anymore after what he just said.
You guys had another one coming up.
I said with something with Chris Mannix, what I love about Bob is he will categorically slag you off to your face. He will verbally abuse you, right? He will make you feel like this big, and you will leave that conversation and think, fuck Bob Arum. And then he'll phone you up a minute later and go, right, about this fight, are we going to get it done?
Because only a moron takes any of this seriously.
Yeah, it's true. But actually,
I mean, you've got to be nuts to take it seriously. I love this guy, I love his father. I mean, what am I going to say? But I'll slack off on you. You can do the same to me. That's okay.
All right, you miserable bastard. Right, anyway. But on a serious note, like, I think Top Rank, there's a lot of similarities between the two companies. Like what they've done in America is very similar to our position in the UK. So all their people, Carl, Brad, Harrison, we've got people on the same kind of level that get on very well. So we get deals done very quickly. We're very competitive against each other, and it's great for boxing. I mean, you saw it tonight. If promoters wouldn't work together, we wouldn't have got tonight.
So are we going to get Tevin and JoJo?
Well, they're both. Well, then JoJo's not with either of us, so that's going to be a problem.
No, if they want a unification, maybe Floyd doesn't give him Davis. But I got 230-pound champions, and I'm happy to sit down and make.
Pachel's a great fight. Yeah. You got Ito as well, haven't you? The Japanese.
Yeah, but he lost to Hearn.
Yeah, of course he did. Yeah. Yes, up the back.
That's a good defense for Farmer.
Spence versus Farmer.
Farmer against Ito.
Oh, good. This is one for bet. When are you going to make Spence v Crawford? They're asking.
There you go.
The gentleman down there says, "Hurry up and make Spence Crawford. Why are you wasting?"
Make what?
I heard you. He said, "What on earth are you doing not making Spence Crawford?" he said,
how many times can I call Heyman up?
All I'm saying is that's the fight.
Are you absolutely correct? There is everything else is garbage. Everything else is second rate. That's the fight. Well, then get everybody to support Spence against Porter, and you'll never get Spence in the ring with Crawford.
That's going to be like 37 cents.
All right, Howard, I'm saying I have told everybody, and Terrence has told everybody, we are up for the fight. We can't fight ourselves. We need to fight Spence. Spence has to agree to the fight. Once he agrees to the fight, he'll make Al do it. It's simple as that. What?
PBC's got all the fighters. Do you think Crawford's in a rough situation?
What's all the fighters? They have a few. That's not all the fighters. There are other fighters.
Everybody in the division.
What? That's not everybody in the division. That's their fighters that they have. I am sure that Crawford will go through every one of those fighters. And look at Devin Haney here. He's going to be a big guy. He'll be able to get up to 147. Regis, right? You beat that English guy.
Whoa! Scottish guy.
Guys, I'm going.
Bob, I know you've been asked about this a lot and you've spoken about it a lot, but the situation regarding Wilder stepping aside, Pulev's stepping aside, obviously you represent Kubrat Pulev, but to your understanding, am I right in saying that both those fighters wouldn't step aside to make to allow Joshua and Fury to happen this year?
I don't get to that issue, whether they would or wouldn't, because, you know, if I went to Pulev and said to Pulev, here is $50 million, step aside, I couldn't get it out of my mouth, he would say yes. And so would Wilder. But where is the money coming from? The step aside money. We're struggling with getting money for the two fighters. Where is the step aside money coming from? That's why the talk about step aside is ludicrous. Who is going to pay the friggin' money? I mean, we're not like the Federal Reserve here or the U.S. Mint that we can print the goddamn money.
Yeah, I mean, you raise a fair point, and then I don't know whether people are looking at yourselves to put the money up or who to put the money up. But
who's to put the money up?
Yeah, okay, that's a fair point, Bob. That's a fair point. Bob, I wanted to get your thoughts on last weekend in Saudi Arabia, where Andy Ruiz lost a unanimous points decision to Anthony Joshua. Your thoughts?
Well, Andy Ruiz didn't surprise me. Once I found out when they announced his weight, I said it's not even worth watching the fight, because Andy, remember, except for the last two fights, Andy Ruiz fought his entire professional career with Top Rank. So I'm very familiar with Andy Ruiz. And when he came in around 240, you know, he was a really good fighter. When he came in, as he did often with us, close to 300 pounds, he was a bum, too much weight, no movement, and guys who shouldn't have been in the same ring with him gave him tough fights. So when I saw at the weigh-in the weights for him and saw his stomach, I said to everybody what George Foreman said to everybody: no chance to win. You know, it was just a walkover fight for Joshua. Now that doesn't demean Joshua, because he prepared for the fight the way a professional prepares for a fight. Andy Ruiz was not a professional. He was, you know, trying to imitate Buster Douglas, who knocked out Tyson, and then when he came in his next fight to fight Holyfield, was a different fighter. Race that Wallen, you know, didn't belong. He'd never seen Wallen fight. I mean, it's just bullshit. You know, we had seen him fight, and we knew the kind of fighter that he was, and the kind of performance that he would do. And you can't listen to guys like Eddie Hearn, who know shit about boxing, and just open and flap their mouths and come over here to the United States and don't have a clue of our culture or how to promote or anything like that. When he just said, what I'm really enraged about, he said in an interview in New York that Bob Arum's an old guy, and he talks about how Mexicans are treated, and young people don't care about that. Who the fuck is he talking about? He's talking about the people in Liverpool, maybe where he comes from, who don't know what the situation is. But you better believe young people of all ethnic groups care about how badly Mexicans are treated in this country. Well, I want to tell everybody, I'm going to make a prediction, that the next heavyweight champion of the world, right, after Tyson Fury wins the WBC title, the winner of all three titles is Kubrat Pulev. He's going to put Joshua on his ass. He's not going to come in like a fat slob like Andy did. He's going to come in fit and ready, and he will put Joshua on his ass. And you can take that to the bank. Eddie Hearn.
Okay, Bob, Arum, thank you very much for talking to IFL TV this afternoon for you, obviously tonight for me, and hope you keep yourself safe, and we can catch up again soon, Bob.
You staying in?
I'm staying in. I'm not doing anything else.
See, we here in California, I can't complain. I got a swimming pool in the back, and you know, the weather is beautiful, and we can send out and get a delivery of food from some of the best restaurants in the world. Do you have takeout in London?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just outside London, so I can't. It's difficult to get kind of takeouts from London, but there are many restaurants and food places here that are all delivering on various apps like Deliveroo, Uber Eats, Just Eats, and all these kind of app-based.
Well, you don't look like you're starving.
Are you calling me Fat Bob?
All right, my friend. Keep
Bob,
safe.
Keep yourself safe, and hopefully we'll get to catch up again soon.
Terrific. Good talking.
Top man. Thank you very much.